until now. On Amazon Germany, it's still a popular tablet, even though it is that old. And one reason for that is that Samsung continued to update that one. It was released with Android 5, I believe. Then it got, or maybe it was Android 6. However, it got Android 7 and Android 8. And who knows, maybe it will even get Android Pie. So for such a lower middle class tablet, there are quite a lot of updates. Alright, but now we want to look at the 2019 version that starts at 210 euros. First of all, if you haven't looked at the Galaxy Tab S4 or other recent tablets from Samsung, then compared to the predecessor, the typical buttons here on the bottom have changed. There are none anymore. You can control it using the touch screen only. That also means that there's no fingerprint scanner. The predecessor didn't have one, but still, I always like to have a fingerprint scanner or maybe even Face ID or something. This one, however, does not at all. You can only unlock it with your password or a pattern or something. So no home button anymore, no back. You can use it either with a navigation bar, or I have it set to some gestures here right now. Let's take a look at the design first. The predecessor was made out of plastic completely. However, now we've got a nice metal body here. It's really mostly metal. We've got a small plastic bar here on the top, but it is mostly metal. The bezels are made out of metal as well. And yeah, because of that, it looks a bit higher end. It feels a bit higher end because it's a mostly metal body. That's certainly nice to see. It's 7.5 millimeters thick or thin and weighs around 460 grams, which is not too bad for a 10-inch tablet. Let's go around it a bit. On the back here, we've got an 8 megapixel camera. There's Samsung logo over there. On the side, we've got a power button, volume rocker, and a micro SD card slot. It's always nice to have the possibility to expand the storage. On the bottom, we've got 2 speakers and a USB-C port in the middle. It's USB-C 2.0. On this side, we have nothing at all. And then we've got a headphone jack on the top. It's nice to see too, because some tablets from Huawei and Apple don't have one. Alright, here we've got a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, and then we've got the 10.1 inch screen. And it seems to be an IPS screen. Samsung does not say it in any of their press materials. However, the viewing angles are very good. Nothing to complain there. So I'm pretty sure it's an IPS screen. It certainly has a full HD resolution with 1920 by 1200. So the screen is nice and sharp. Obviously, your phone will have a higher pixel density, but I always think that full HD on 10 inches is totally fine. It's fully laminated, and that's a difference compared to the predecessor. That one had a little air gap between the touch layer and the IPS screen below, and that's something we see with the standard iPad, for example, too. However, in this case, the screen is fully laminated. There's no annoying air gap or anything, so it's a nice laminated screen. Colors and contrast, as far as I've seen so far, look pretty nice. I already had it in direct sun yesterday, and if you put it to its brightest, you can barely see anything. I mean, it's usable, but not like awesome usable. You will probably see the Super AMOLED screen of the Galaxy Tab S4 or the iPad Pro screen. They will work much better outside, but this is a 210 euro tablet, so yeah, it's good that it's at least a little bit usable. But for inside, the brightness is pretty good. Let's take a look inside the tablet. And Samsung is shipping it with an Exynos 7904 octa-core processor, and together with that we get 2 GB of RAM and a 32 GB internal storage. If you first look at it, those specs don't sound that impressive. However, I did run a Geekbench and Antutu benchmark already, and as you can see in my comparison chart here, especially the Antutu result is very impressive. The Galaxy Tab A 10.1 2019 is faster than the Huawei MediaPad M5 Lite 10, faster than the Lenovo Tab P10, and faster than the Samsung Galaxy Tab A 10.5 that was released about half a year ago and originally cost over $300, over 300 euros. So the benchmark results are pretty good. And I already played PUBG Mobile, as you can see right here, and indeed those results of my gaming tests, they are reflected in the benchmarks, because I was able to set PUBG Mobile to HD graphics and to high frame rate. With the other three tablets I mentioned from Huawei, Lenovo and Samsung that cost around 300 euros, $300, with those you can play PUBG Mobile with balanced settings only. So the graphics settings are indeed a bit better on the new Galaxy Tab A 10.1 here, and that's nice to see. However, you will still see some minor stuttering in between when playing at HD settings. Most of the time everything runs fine, but sometimes you will see like small hiccups. However, it might be a problem of PUBG Mobile in general. Alright, I had this tablet for around 24 hours already, and I surfed the web on Chrome a bit and with YouTube and so on, and that works fine. It should be totally fine, the performance for standard tasks. I mean, that's what the benchmarks show too, and yeah, the hardware is just good enough for standard web browsing, for watching some YouTube, Netflix and so on. For that, the performance should totally be fine. However, you've seen the benchmark comparison too, that the performance of the Galaxy Tab S4 and so on, or the Huawei MediaPad M510 is still noticeably faster than this one. This is still only, kind of only a mid-range tablet, but a pretty fast mid-range tablet. If you want, you can get it with LTE or 4G. I think I've mentioned that already. And I think now it's time to check out the software. It is the first tablet to ship with Android 9 Pie. And that is really nice because, well, it's the first Android Pie tablet that I've had in my hands, and I had pretty much all tablets in my hands. So we're getting Android 9 Pie here. And in fact, I think that the software might be one reason why you want to get a Samsung tablet, because the 2016 Galaxy Tab A was shipped with Android 6. Then it got an update to Android 7. And then it got an update to Android 8. Just a couple of months ago. And who knows, maybe it will even get Android Pie. So even the mid-range tablet, the Galaxy Tab A that was sold for sometimes just 160 euros here, got an update to Android 8 from Android 6 originally. So there's really no other manufacturer besides Google and Apple who update their tablets, even the mid-range tablets, like that. So I always really think that Samsung is doing a good job with updates. It always takes a long time. I mean, the Android 8 update was released over a year after it was released originally by Google, but still, at least you're getting Android 8. So I think if you want to be relatively up to date with your Android tablet, that Samsung is doing a pretty good job here, and certainly better than Huawei or Lenovo. On top of Android 9 runs the One UI in version 1. It's similar to the Samsung Experience UI or to TouchWiz. They just changed the name somehow for some reason. Anyway, as you can see, it does look indeed quite a bit different compared to vanilla Android, but it looks like the Samsung Experience. If you had the Galaxy Tab S4 or the Tab A 10.5, if you played with that one, it looks just the same. I like the design. It looks a bit modern, but it obviously is heavily customized. You can also see that in the settings here, that all looks different compared to vanilla Android. We obviously do have some Android 9 and One UI features. For example, the digital well-being. I've got it set to German here right now, and there you can see how much time you're spending with which apps and so on. There you can see what you've been doing. You can see I did quite a bit already yesterday. And that's it pretty much. You have a kids mode if you want to, but I'm not sure if that is really that useful. There's an energy saving mode, a blue light filter, a night mode, and you can here turn on or turn off the navigation bar on the top and bottom here. Now you've got it back. Or you could have used the gestures that I had previously. By the way, at the beginning I thought there's something weird going on with the split screen view, because usually you can just hold one and then put it to the side, right? Like we used to be able to do with Oreo and Nougat, but that's not the case here anymore. How you can use it is just press along on that, and then you can switch to the split screen view, and then you can open two apps side by side. And while I'm doing that, I open the gallery here, and then we can take a look at some screenshots that I took. First of all, out of the box, out of those 32 GB, 8.5 are taken up by the system. So out of the box, you've got around a bit over 23 GB to use by yourself. I had yeah, the Geekbench benchmarks, you've seen that already. I took some screenshots of PUBG Mobile just to confirm that the graphics are set to HD and to high. And I already did my battery test that was running overnight, and I got a runtime of 10.5 hours, which, as you can see in the comparison chart here, is a mid-range result. It's not awesome, it's not totally bad, it's in the middle. Yeah, the 10.5 hours are fine, but certainly not great, but also not terribly bad. For that, I'm always looping an HD video, the same HD video at medium brightness turned on Wi-Fi, and it's looping until the battery or the tablet shuts off. So 10.5 hours in that battery test. Alright, and yeah, now I have to start my real review. As I said, I already had the benchmarks and PUBG Mobile running, and I played with Chrome and YouTube and so on, but that's really only kind of been in the last 24 hours. I now have to do some real live testing. I will be on a plane tomorrow, and there I'll have over 12 hours with it on the plane, and yeah, it will take me maybe 1 or 2 weeks until I have a final review, but I wanted to get this unboxing video out already because the Galaxy Tab A series always is pretty popular. If you have any questions, feel free to write me down below, and then I might be able to include it in my final review. I will do further gaming testing and yeah, really use it, also use it with the keyboard. I also like to get some work done with the tablets, that's testing the Bluetooth connection at the same time then and so on. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to write me down below. My first impressions are pretty good though. It seems to be a pretty nice mid-range tablet, lower mid-range tablet with just 210 euros. And as I said, probably around 200 US dollars. That's a really good price for a mostly metal body, a decent Full HD screen, and for that price, a very good performance, especially in benchmarks, but also in my PUBG gaming test. What you don't get are 4 speakers. We only have 2 speakers and no fingerprint scanner, and those are premium features that the Huawei MediaPad M5 Lite 10 and the